So I'm sharing my screen. I think everyone is it visible to everyone? I think so. So today,
Yes, sir, it is visible, sir.
okay. So today we are before entering into the details of the cloud and the other topics, the new topics of the cloud architecture. I want to show you. I want to just give you a revise of some of the basic topic which actually require as a prerequisite of cloud computing architecture. That is parallel and distributed computing. I actually didn't cover this topic before the starting of the first class because I think that you have already have some idea regarding it, parallel distributed computing. But just for in case some questions may come regarding the difference between cloud computing and distributed computing or cloud computing and parallel computing. Okay, so some questions may come if you've gone through the last 5 or 6 year questions. You will get some questions has come regarding the differences between them. So you have to take an overall idea about parallel and distributed computing. So that's why I have given this lecture on parallel and distributed computing. Just I have given overall. I am not going into the very detail of it. Just given overall lecture and then again come back to the new topic of the cloud architecture. Okay, of cloud computing. So let me start with parallel and distributed computing. So these are the outlines of my lectures of today, but I am not going to cover all these things because they are little bit detailed topic existing here. So I'm not going to discuss all the thing. I'm just giving an overall idea about parallel and distributed computing. Those who couldn't remember, they can gain some knowledge from this idea. So why parallel distributed computing in cloud computing? Actually, I told in the first class that cloud computing could not be evolved at once. Okay, it is nothing but a several years results of doing research and development in some existing computing like parallel computing, distributed computing, utility computing, grid computing. So these are the four computing paradigms. The research on those four computing paradigms, the result of the research of the four computing paradigm is a cloud computing. And cloud computing, you can say it will generally takes the advantages and of all this computing paradigm, and as well as it will includes flexibility, elasticity, this sort of property to make the cloud computing easier to handle and flexible for the end users. Okay. Now, cloud computing is intimately tied to parallel and distributed computing. This statement is very important because the base computing paradigm of cloud computing are these four computing: parallel computing, distributed computing, grid computing, and utility computing. In my previous lecture, I already discussed the difference between grid computing and cloud computing, and utility computing and cloud computing, because direct questions are coming from those parts: grid computing, cloud computing, and this and your utility computing and cloud computing. So, so what is parallel computing? So obviously, parallel computing is just oppose the concept of the serial computations, right? So nowadays, serial computation are generally not popularly or widely used because serial computation has a series of drawbacks, a series of limitations, and the most important limitation of serial computation is the time consumption. Okay, it will take too much time. So to be run on a single computer having a single central processing unit, that is the basic features of a serial computing. That in serial computing there is only one central processing unit and one job at a time will enter to process under the CPU. Okay. So problem. So in parallel computing, what is the case? In parallel computing, the entire problem, or you can say the entire job, is broken down into small number of jobs, or you can say a small number of discrete series of informations or instructions, and those instructions are executed in case of serial computing one after another. Only one instruction may execute at any moment in time, or one after another. In serial computing these instructions are executed. Okay, but in parallel computing there are multiple CPUs are working, you can say, and the problem is divided into multiple domains of instructions, and all these instructions are simultaneously simultaneously at the same time will be executed by the multiple processing. Okay, so this is an advantage of. From this you can understand the advantage is that is a less time consumption compared to serial computing, because in serial computing one instruction at a time will be executed by only one single handed CPU or central processing unit, whereas in parallel computing the problem is break down into here in this, according to this picture, the problem is breakdown into 4 different domains, and each and every domain is again breakdown into number of instructions, whereas multiple instruction can execute it at the same time. These are time t1. At that time t1, suppose 1 2 3 4 4 instruction executed simultaneously by the help of the CPU or four parallel processors. Okay, so in the same way at time t2, these 4 instructions will executed by the help of 4 parallel processors. So obviously, uh, so parallel computing is a simultaneously use of multiple compute resources to solve a computational problem, and to be run using multiple CPUs. This has been seen in the picture, and the problem is broken down into discrete parts that can be solved concurrently. Each part is further broken down to a series of instructions. Okay, the instruction from each part executed simultaneously on different CPUs. Now let me give you one very interesting and one real life example to tell you the difference between serial computing and parallel computing. It is much more understandable by getting that example. Please remember or listen it. Suppose there is a school where the exam is going on, okay, and the teachers are generally teaching 3 subjects, are used to teach 3 subjects to the students in that school. One is mathematics, second one is physics, and third one is chemistry. So it actually running the science group, so mathematics, physics, and chemistry, these are the 3 major stream in the science group, and there are 3 teachers who are teaching their students. Suppose there are 10 students, and they are teaching their students those 3 subjects. Now they are making one common question paper. In that question paper, the entire marks has been distributed among these 3 subjects. Suppose there are total 100 marks, so each and every subject carrying suppose 35 marks or 30 marks. 30 marks physics, 30 marks chemistry, and suppose 40 marks are maths. Okay, so this entire 100 paper, so there is only single question, all the 3 subjects are given into the single question. Now uh, when the students has given the answer, so they are actually using the single answer script or same answer script to give the answers all the 3 subjects of physics, chemistry, and maths. Now when the answer script has been submitted for the evaluation to the teachers, now the 3 teachers are sitting in a table, right? Now the first case, how to evaluate the subjects, that answer scripts. Suppose there are 10 answer scripts. So the first teacher is a math teacher, second teacher is a physics teacher, and third teacher is a chemistry teacher. In this order, they are sitting in a table. Okay, sitting on a table. Now the first subject, the first answer script has been taken by the math teacher, and math teacher checks the first answer script and save it in his place. Then he will take the second answer script, check its maths portion of the answer script, and save it. Then he will take the third answer script, check his maths portion, and save it. Okay, save it by by himself. Okay. Now in this way he will check or evaluate all the 10 answer script, and after completion of his evaluation of all the 10 answer scripts, he will hand over all the 10 answer scripts to the next teacher, suppose physics teacher. In the same time, the physics teacher checks all the 10 answer scripts of physics portion of the answer script, and then provided that answer script to the third teacher, is chemistry teacher. So in this way, so you can identify there is one problem in this procedure of evaluation, that while the math teacher checking all the 10 answer script, at the same time physics and chemistry teacher are sitting ideal. So when the physics teacher is checking his 10 answer script, at the same time maths and chemistry teacher are sitting ideal, and the same thing is happened for the chemistry teacher as well. So this is the process which is actually applicable for the serial communications. Okay, so one at a time, one processor will handle the entire 10 job. When the processor completes, then the 10 job is handed over to the next processor. So in this way, the serial processing is actually working, serial computing. So obviously from this current scenario, from this real life scenario, you can easily understand that it will take too much time to handle the answer script. Now there is a second way how to efficiently or effectively evaluate the answer script. Very simple. The first answer script has been taken by the math teacher, checked his maths portion of the answer script, and after the particular time, and after whatever time he or she will take to cover or to evaluate the maths portion of the answer script, just completion of his evaluation, he handed over that particular answer script to the next teacher, suppose physics teacher. Okay, and the math teacher at the same time takes the second answer script to check the math portion of the second answer script. And at the same time, the physics teacher is checking his physics portion of the answer script of the first answer script. Okay. Now, in the next time, suppose physics teacher has completed his checking, okay, and he is handed over that answer script or first answer script to the third teacher, that is chemistry teacher. So at a particular time, there must be some moment while the third paper has been checked by the math portion of the third paper has been checked by the first teacher. The physics portion of the second paper has been checked by the second teacher, and the chemistry portion of the first paper has been checked by the chemistry teacher. So at the same time, one paper, when one paper is checking by one teacher, the other teachers are not sitting idle. They are checking the other answer script simultaneously. So this is an example of parallel processing, right? So obviously we will save time in case of parallel processing. So anyone has any doubt? Do you understand this real life example? কারো কোনো বুঝতে অসুবিধা হলো এই রিয়েল লাইফ এক্সাম্পলটা? প্লিজ রিমেম্বার দিস রিয়েল লাইফ এক্সাম্পল, ইটস ভেরি ভেরি ইন্টারেস্টিং অ্যান্ড you couldn't forget it. Okay, if you understand this example, you couldn't forget the differences between serial computing and parallel computing. Anyone has any doubt regarding this example? কারো কোনো প্রবলেম হলো বুঝতে এই রিয়েল লাইফ এক্সাম্পলটা regarding serial and parallel computing? Please give me
No,
response.
sir.
ঠিক আছে তো, বুঝতে পেরেছো তো?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's move on. So this is the main differences between serial computing and parallel computing. Now there's a parallel computing which handles multiple resources, like it is a collection, it handles a multiple processor, because in parallel computing there is not a single CPU, there are multiple CPU, so multiple processors are working. The single computer with multiple processors and some specialized computer resources, GPU, FPGA, these sort of computers are generally using in parallel computing. Okay, there must be a single computer with multiple processors also available, or some high-end computer like GPU, FPGA, this sort of computer, field programmable graphics array, graphical processing unit, GPU, these sort of specialized computing resources are also used in parallel computing. An arbitrary number of computers can be connected by a network, okay, to provide the job of parallel computations, okay, and a combination of both. Okay. Now, what are the limitations of serial computing? I already told the limitation of serial computing. Both physical and practical reasons pose significant constraint to simply building ever faster serial computer. Fastness, speed up, these sort of factors are coming in case of serial computing. Time consumption, transmission speed. So obviously, it is also related with this speed up type of factors in case of serial computing. And economic limitations. It is increasingly expensive to make a single processor faster. Obviously, if you want to improve the serial computing, or if you want to give a more powerful serial computing compared to parallel computing, then you have to increase the architecture of the single processor which has been used in the serial computing. So in the first figure we have seen this is a CPU. Now if you want to make this architecture is equally faster compared to this architecture, parallel architecture, then you have to make this CPU much more powerful. You have to install lot of memory, lot of RAM, lot of the high end processor within the CPU. Okay, so these sort of things you have to install within the CPU. So obviously it will increase your expenses. Okay, it's economically expensive. So that thing has been said here. To make serial computing faster, we have to make it economically expensive, because we have to introduce or install the single processor with some latest equipment, with some fast commodity equipments. Okay, so these are the examples, these are the limitations of serial computing. Now, why we use parallel computing? I already told, saves times. Okay, cost savings, overcoming memory constraints, and it's a further of computing. Okay, sorry, it is a future of computing. So parallel computing is actually a future of computing. So traditionally, parallel computing has been considered to be the high-end computing, and has been motivated by numerical solutions of complex systems and grand challenges problems, such as, obviously, for this sort of problems which I have been noted here, like weather and climate analysis. So most of us are thinking that that the weather forecasting members or weather forecasting divisions of our country sometimes couldn't provide the weather perfectly, or sometimes they couldn't provide the weather perfectly, or they can forecast the weather perfectly, and sometimes they would fail. But we'll think it's a very easy job to find to predict an weather. So believe me, the concept is entirely wrong. To predict a weather, to analyze a weather and its climate change, this is one of the very difficult and tedious job for a computer as well as the user who are handling that job. Okay, so for this sort of jobs, we generally depend on some sort of high-end architecture, high-end computing processes. Especially, we may use we will take the help of some sort of supercomputers. Why supercomputer? Obviously, parallel computing concepts has been inbuilt within the supercomputers. Okay, supercomputer cannot be built without the concept of parallel computation. So it cannot be built with the concept of serial computation, because supercomputer are faster, as well as it is able to do some sort of complex applications. Okay, while all the others computer, traditional computer, fails to do that. So this sort of complex applications, whether climate change, chemical, nuclear reactions, which actually happened in case of chemical plants or nuclear plants, biological human genome, so DNA expression analysis, RNA expression analysis. So COVID-19 nowadays is one of the very pandemic disease nowadays. Lots of people are dying throughout the world by the effect of this disease, and then the scientists who are trying to develop to create the antibody which will prevent the disease, or vaccine or drug discovery, they actually analyze the disease. This is a virus. COVID-19 is actually a virus, so they actually analyze the disease by the help of RNA expression. So RNA expression has been exploited by the scientists and try to analyze some new vaccines or new antibody to prevent the disease. Okay, so this is one of the very tedious job for the scientists, and it will require a very high-end computing to provide or support this sort of jobs. Okay, like seismic activity, that earthquake predictions, actually you can say, and mechanical devices, electronic circuits, manufacturing processes. So this sort of high-end applications we will actually use as parallel computing, right? So these are the von Neumann architecture. I think all of you know about it. How many of you know about the von Neumann architecture? Please give a response. How many of you know about the von Neumann architecture? Have you heard this term? Are you familiar with this term, von Neumann? If you cover the computer organization architecture, I think you are familiar with this term, von Neumann architecture. How many of you? জানো তোমরা what is von Neumann architecture?
স্যার আর্কিটেকচারে পড়েছিলাম বাট ভুলে গেছি।
হ্যাঁ স্যার ছিল স্যার, কিন্তু আর্কিটেকচারে দুটো সেমিস্টার আগে তো মানে থিওরি পার্ট ভুলে গেছি।
Okay, so von Neumann architecture, von Neumann is the first architecture which has been developed with a simple understanding of CPU and memory. That means some instructions which want to be executed, the CPU actually fetch the instruction from the memory,
স্যার
and
কোন অ্যারিথমেটিক লজিক ইউনিট থাকে আর একটা কন্ট্রোল ইউনিট থাকে, তাই না স্যার? ওটাই না?
না von Neumann architecture is the basic one, যেখানে কোনো arithmetical unit থাকছে না, কোনো তোমার even কোনো storage unit থাকছে না. This memory is actually a RAM, so primary memory, or you can say the volatile memory. So কোনো instruction storage এর গল্প এখানে থাকছে না in case of CPU, in case of von Neumann architecture. এর পরে যে আর্কিটেকচার ডেভেলপ করা হয়েছে, যে হার্ভার্ড আর্কিটেকচার, যার নামে হার্ভার্ড ইউনিভার্সিটি তৈরি করা হয়েছে, দ্য ম্যাথামেটিশিয়ান. So that Harvard architecture has introduced that memory and the storage, that means the permanent storage has been included within the architecture of Harvard architecture. Okay, and von Neumann is the basic one, where the CPU will simply fetch the instruction, do the operation, and CPU will send the result to the memory to display. Okay, so fetching and display, this sort of operation is actually occurring in von Neumann architecture. Okay, so it has several bottlenecks, several drawbacks. Okay, so these are the Flynn's classifications. I think you have already learned it. তোমার জাস্ট একবার একটু দেখে নিও যে সিম্পল কিভাবে হচ্ছে এই Flynn's classification: single instruction, single data; multiple instruction, single data; single instruction, multiple data; and multiple instruction, multiple data. These three SISD, SIMD, MIMD, these three are the practically usable classification taxonomy, and this MISD, multiple instruction single data, is generally not practically implemented or practically used, like okay, using it. And so তোমরা আর্কিটেকচার এগুলো সবই পড়েছো, ভেক্টর প্রসেসিং, সিঙ্গেল থ্রেড প্রসেসেস। তো আমি বলবো যে একবার একটু জাস্ট গো থ্রু ইট। ওকে, so these are the examples. তুমি PPT দেখলেও you can understand everything, that how the single instruction single data is what actually working here. So it's a serial sort of operation, only one instruction, and data stream is acted during any one clock cycle. So after clock cycle, if there is only one clock cycle, then there is only one instruction will be executed on only a single data. So load A, so that means the value of the value should be registered into the load A. Sorry, the value of the register A will be loaded into the CPU, into the processor. So this is a single instruction will be executed on single data, that is the value of A. In the same way, this thing is happen. So one instruction will be executed at a time. So this SISD is equivalent to a serial architecture. Okay. Now this SISD has been given. So one processor, one instruction will be included at a time, and one data will be included at a time. Okay, not more than multiple data or single or multiple instructions. This is SIMD, single instruction, multiple data. So the instruction executed, they all look, this P1, P2, Pn, these are the three processors are running, or n number of processors are running. Each and every processor executes the same instruction, the single instruction at a time. So P1 will execute this single instruction at a time. P2 will execute this single instruction at a time. Pn, in the same way, n number of register will execute the single instruction at a time, but the data are different. Multiple data, they are executing the same instruction on multiple data. Okay, so these are data A1, B1, A2, B2, A3, B3, and AN, BN. Okay, so all processing units execute the same instruction at a given clock cycle, and each processing unit operates on different data elements. Okay, the data elements are different, but their instructions are single. Okay, at a particular clock cycle at a particular time. So in this way, please go through the other sort of architectures where multiple data, single instructions. Okay, one instruction has been given. Suppose the instruction is loading the data. So the data D0 has been loaded, D1 has been loaded, D2 has been loaded, D3 has been loaded, and so on. DN has been loaded. So that loading data instruction is a single instruction, but it will be applicable on the data starting from D0 to DN. Okay, so that means multiple data. So that's why single instruction, multiple data. So these are in the same way multiple instructions, single data. So I'm not going to discuss it. So let me just skip into the part of parallel versus distributed computing. So there is a basic architecture, a basic block diagram of a processor. Okay, which will take single instruction and perform operations on a single data, and it will get a series of input and get a series of output. Now, in case of parallel processing, multiple CPUs within a shared memory machine. So please remember, in case of parallel processing, I already told there are multiple processors are working. But one thing is very interesting in parallel processing, they are using a centralized memory system. That means one single memory system which will be shared by multiple processors. Okay, like von Neumann architecture, there is one memory and one CPU, but here in parallel processing, there are multiple CPUs which will perform multiple jobs at the same amount of time, but they share the same centralized memory. Okay, so whatever instruction they will fetch, whatever data value they will fetch, whatever data value they will store, that will be handled by a single memory, a single centralized memory, and that will be shared by